19th, 2019 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Troy to order. Welcome, everybody. It's amazing to have such a large packed house here tonight, so thank you for coming and giving us your attendance here tonight. I'm Glenn Clark. I'm the chairman of the board. I'm going to introduce everybody up here so everyone understands who is dealing with the business of the board here tonight. So on my far left, your right, is Mr. Kalsunas, who is an alternate to this board, but he will be a full voting member of the board here tonight. Excuse my voice. And this is Mr. Lambert. This is Mr. Agawas. He is our vice chairman. Like I said before, I'm the chairman. This is Mr. Desmond, Mr. McCauley, and this is a brand spanking new member of the board. I just met her a couple minutes ago. This is Karen Cruz, who is a planning commissioner, but she's also an embed to our board as a liaison between the planning commission and the zoning board. And off on the side dais here is Mr. Motsney, and this is Mr. Evans. And Mr. Evans serves as the city administrative liaison to this board. Mr. Motsney, to the very far end here, is during the day, when he puts his Superman cape on, he's an assistant city attorney. Tonight he'll serve as our legal advisor to this board. And at this point in time, I'm going to ask Mr. Evans to call the roll.
Mr. Clark.
I'm here.
Mr. Agawas.
Here.
Mr. Desmond.
Here.
Mr. Kalsunas.
Here.
Mr. McCauley.
Here.
Mr. Lambert.
Here.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes, I'm here.
So we have a full quorum here tonight, and we will proceed with our rules and procedures. So these are shared with members of the public just to better understand how we operate here. And I'm going to call on Vice Chairman Agawas to read them now.
The Zoning Board of Appeals is a group of 7 of your neighbors appointed by City Council to decide on requests for variances and other matters that are brought before them. A variance is a relaxation of the literal provisions of the zoning ordinance. Petitioners must indicate a hardship or practical difficulty with the land that would warrant the granting of the variance. The board will hear the items in the order that they appear on the agenda. When an item is called, the chairman will verify that the petitioner is present. Then the city administration will summarize the facts of the case. The petitioner will then be given an opportunity to address the board to explain the justification for the action requested. After the petitioner makes their presentation and answers any questions that the board may have, the chairman will open the public hearing. Any person wishing to speak on the request should raise their hand, and when recognized by the chairman, come up to the podium. The speaker should identify themselves with name and address, indicate their relationship to the property in question, such as next door neighbor, live behind the property, etc., and state whether they are in favor of or against the variance request and give reasons for their opinion. Comments must be directed through the chairman. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and closely pertain to the matter under consideration. Only one person will be recognized by the chairman to speak at one time. At the conclusion of public comments, the chairman will close the public hearing. Once the public hearing is closed, no other public comment will be taken unless in response to a specific question by a member of the board. The board will then make a motion to approve, deny, or postpone the request. In order for the request to pass, a minimum of 4 votes are needed. If the request is not granted, the applicant has the right to appeal the board's decision to Oakland County Circuit Court.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Agawas. So essentially what the rules are is that you can't speak from the gallery unless I call on you, and you have to be at this microphone. So only people from a microphone can speak, members of the board, member of the public, only at that microphone. And that's how we're going to have an orderly meeting, and everyone's going to be heard. We're going to listen to everyone's opinion. And by the way, since it seems like we have a lot of students here tonight, welcome. We're so excited to have you. If you look at the bottom of the agenda, item number 8 is public comment. And I know, generally speaking, your teacher requires my signature on the agenda, but I would love it if you would come up during public comment and introduce yourself and tell us what school you're coming from. Wouldn't that be fun? Because it will be on the public record as well. So that would be kind of great to enjoy our city students here from across Troy. Moving forward, we're going to go on to item number 3, the approval of the minutes. Is there a question, comment, or concern from a member of the board about the minutes? Mr. Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, I would move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Moved by Lambert, seconded by Desmond for approval of the minutes. Is there any discussion on that motion? Mr. Evans, I believe we're prepared for a vote.
Mr. Agawas.
Yes.
Mr. Desmond.
Yes.
Mr. Kalsunas.
Yes.
Mr. McCauley.
Yes.
Mr. Lambert.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz.
Abstain.
Mr. Clark.
Yes. So, Mr. Motzny, this is going back to the age-old question about abstentions. So can you just address that before we take that into the public record?
Yes.
Ms. Cruz abstained.
It happens every time we get a new planning commission.
Right.
I'd like to say that I'm in with keeping what you're used to, right?
Yeah.
Tradition. It's tradition.
Yes, you can vote on the minutes as part of the board,
Yes,
whether or
I'm
not you were
aware.
there. Yes,
I'm aware.
Yes,
Yes.
so you can do that. It does, there's nothing, in fact, most boards and committees, you would have a duty to vote on the minutes whether or not you were there. So you can vote on the minutes.
Is it a duty or is it an option?
It would be a requirement as you are a board member to vote on all matters before the board, unless there truly is a reason to abstain. The reasons for abstaining is usually because you have an interest or a bias or some other reason that would affect your...
I have none of that. I just was not present.
Right.
So with that, I can approve the minute.
Yes, you can.
So, Mr. Evans, can you please call Ms. Cruz's name again for purpose of the roll?
Ms. Cruz.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so that motion is approved, and just for our newest member, it is also our tradition that if you're present, you vote in favor of a motion or against, regardless if you were here or not. And that's based on our legal advisors' counsel over many, many years. So that's this board. I know you come from a different board as well, but now you're serving this board as well.
Right.
So that motion is approved. So now we move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there any concern, question, comment? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman,
We don't normally.
normally don't.
Yeah, we don't, I guess.
Typically we just, the chair affirms that we're accepting the agenda.
Okay. Sorry, the chairman forgot. So I'm approving item number 4 as presented. Okay, moving right on to item number 5. This is a variance request regarding 56 Vermont. Mr. Evans, could you please present to us on this issue?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is subject property at 56 Vermont. The property is on the south side of Vermont. This is in a residential area east of Livernois and north of Maple Road. On the overhead, I've got it outlined in yellow here. And that's what I've done here is overlaid in the colors, the zoning categories for area properties. Everything you see in yellow is zoned single-family residential, and that includes the subject property. Now to the west, that reddish is zoned Maple Road. That's non-single-family residential, and the gray you see at the top of the picture is office zoning. And there's a close-up of the property and the neighbors. Now, the subject matter involves the placement of a house on the property. These are the elevations that the applicants provided. This is the site plan, and I'm going to zoom in here, and we'll get to the crux of their request. So in this site plan, we have Vermont at the top of the screen. These are the property boundaries, and this outline here is the outline of the proposed structure. There's a couple variances that are needed that the applicant's requesting. The first one involves side yard setback. Now in this zoning district, side yard setback, the lowest you can go on any one side is 5 feet, but when you add both sides up, you have to have at least 15 feet. And they're going to be 5 feet on the east side, but less than 10 feet on the west side. So when you add the proposed east and west, the total is 13.5 foot combined setback, and the ordinance requires 15. Now the second variance they need is for the rear yard setback. The ordinance requires that the house be at least 35 feet back from the rear property line, which is at the bottom here, and they're showing just a few hundredths under 30 feet back from the rear property line. So in order to proceed with their plan, they're seeking those variances tonight. Now a little background on this matter. This was a plan that was, and by the way, yes, this is how the property looks now. Construction on the house has started. So we've got some decking, a couple walls there. This is a submission that came to the city building department. It shouldn't have been submitted because it had setback deficiencies actually larger than what we see here tonight. And unfortunately, neither the applicant nor the building department caught those in time. A permit was issued, construction started, neighbor called, said, I think things look a little close to the side property line. We took a second look at the submitted plan, realized that things were approved where they shouldn't be. The applicant agreed to stop work. The applicant agreed to apply for a variance to see if he could get relief, and he actually reduced the width of his house a little bit to reduce the amount of variances he needs. Along the west side, the variance is due to some cantilevers. Now along the south side, though, that goes right up to the foundation. So in order to proceed with what he wants to do, he's seeking relief from the board, and I'll turn it back over for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Is there a member of the board who has a question for city staff at this time? Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Evans, I know people make mistakes all the time, and it's kind of out of the purview of this board, but just as a interested citizen, I was wondering if, based upon what's happened here, has city staff made some changes to their processes and procedures so something like this doesn't happen in the future?
Well, I would say because this is so rare, but we haven't made changes. But
and I know
this
I
is
think
just,
you got staff here who maybe be able to address that question later on, but just from a point of view that that I think we've had something like this happen in the recent past where a similar approval was granted and the appropriate variances were not approved by the ZBA until after the fact. I was just wondering whether or not there's some needed changes as far as how the construction permits are issued.
well, and maybe that is something we should look into, and I think that's a very valid point. So to answer your question directly, while we haven't implemented changes, because this is still rare, maybe this is a good example of why we should re-examine.
Okay, thank you.
Any other member of the board? Okay, we'll call the petitioner forward or his or her representative to the microphone. So please identify yourself and tell us what your relationship to the property in question is.
Good evening, board. Hello. I am Salvo Orlando. I am the applicant and the builder. This is the owner of the property, and she happens to be my sister, and it was her house that I was building. I think Mr. Evans did a good job on bringing you guys kind of up to speed of what the situation seems to be. It's a little bit of a unique situation because it's not, you know how the saying goes, you know, do it and then ask for forgiveness later. This is not our intent. We presented a plan, a site plan that got approved. I actually have a folder for you guys that I'm going to pass to kind of further.
Sir, you can't speak unless you're at the microphone. So you can pass anything on.
May.
Right, but you can't be speaking from there to here because it doesn't go on the public record.
gotcha, okay.
So the microphone causes you to be on the public record.
Oh, okay.
If you want to share that with the board,
Yes.
please do. But when you're leaving that podium, you have to stop speaking. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're just trying to be in full compliance with state law here.
First for us too.
I understand. So,
Open Meetings Act is a state law that bears jurisdiction over all of our proceedings here.
I perfectly understand. So as I was saying is, we build a lot in Troy. We have never had any issues. Actually, we cherish a very good relationship with the city of Troy and all its members. So I don't like this issue at all. So thankfully, she is related to me because if she hadn't been related, it would be more of an issue because I mean, we presented the approved plans for her loan application. So that's what the bank asked. That's what the bank approved. So now we're kind of in a limbo and waiting to get this matter to get resolved, to resubmit for another loan application. She had to pull her house out of the market. You know, she wanted her kids to be in school and me have the home ready. It's been now since December 14th that we've been on a standstill, so over 2 months. As you all know, I mean, lumber is a natural element, and it can't just sit there forever. Trusses were ordered based on the old plan, and those are garbage, which I'm willing to accept. I mean, just because we cherish the relationship with the city of Troy, we have met with an architect and reduced the home as much as possible, so we accommodate and not need so much, especially on the side. So we're only really looking for a foot and a half on the side, and the reason being is because there's a stairs going upstairs that it needs to be there. Otherwise, we can't really go upstairs. And it's just, like I said, it's unfortunate. And this was approved. And, we're here just asking, if you guys could please take it in consideration. And then also, the 5-foot issue in the rear is that when the engineer called, because this is a non-conforming lot, so it's kind of like a tricky situation. When the engineer that we hired, there's not a set. Every city has different requirements. So when he called, we asked for the setbacks, and what he found out, it was 15 feet, and somebody told him, you can do, as long as it's 15 feet, you can split it 7.5 or 5 and 10. Which at that point he said, okay, what about rear and what about front and rear? And the lady said, or somebody whoever he spoke to said that you need 60 feet, you need 35 and 25. So he kind of went with the same mentality as, I can just evenly split it. So if you guys add up, I still have the 60 feet, but it's evenly splitted instead of having 25 and 35, which after I explained this to my sister, because she's not a builder, she's like, I would have rather have a larger backyard, right. Not a smaller backyard. So this is not an intent for us to have a bigger home or trying to get one by the city or anything. This is just a mistake. And again, mistake that if you see the folder, there was a lot of chances of someone catching this before we got to this point. Again, we understand everybody's human. We make mistakes, and I've been nothing but, I think, compliant, and I even took it upon myself that I went and already fixed the issues, as I pointed out in those pictures, to accommodate and just move on. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. Do you want to?
So my name is Maria Spagnolo, and like he said, I'm the sister. And I think he did a pretty good job of saying our major concerns. Like for us, my husband couldn't be here today because he's out of work he's out of town for work. But he wanted to really be here. But the biggest thing for us, like he said, is that we're already approved for this project. To resubmit all this stuff, to get a new loan, he just switched jobs too. So the amount of paperwork and stuff that we would have to go through now to get this approved and do it to be compliant, it's just, to be honest, it's going to be a headache.
Overwhelming.
So from what I see and what he's told me, what I see up here and all the notes we have and all this stuff, I mean, we're trying our best to make you guys happy, but at the same time, you guys have to make us happy, especially the homeowner, because it's our time, it's our money, and we also have our own deadlines. So just try to help us as best as we can. We want to come to a resolution so where both parties are happy.
One thing I would like to add is what you mentioned as far as a suggestion. If I may have a suggestion, is that in the ordinance book, nowhere do you see that, because as I said, I've been building now for almost 18 years. I've built at least in a dozen cities throughout Michigan. Nowhere in the city of Troy where it says that if you cantilever, which I'm not sure if you guys know what a cantilever is. If you cantilever, that it's encroaching. Usually it isn't. You know what I mean? Like Birmingham, we do a lot of building, is one of the toughest cities to build in, and they even have it in the code book that you have to have 5 feet minimum, and then you can, at that point, you can only cantilever up to 1 foot only. And they have cantilever. Like, if you look in that book of City of Troy, that word doesn't exist. So I think they should put a section there, a special.
We're not here to discuss what the city council may or may not do regarding changing the zoning ordinance. So if you want to continue, that's your First Amendment right to free speech. We can't consider it. So we have no jurisdiction over that.
I would just make
well, I'm just saying the city council has authority in that regard. And as far as to the good lady's comments about both parties here, the board and you coming to a better understanding because of your deadlines, we can't consider that. We can't consider your loan. We can't consider your issues, your headaches, your paperwork. We can't consider any of that. So let's just stay on the straight and narrow here about the facts of the property. That's all we can consider as a board here. So you're going way off the road here.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to share regarding the property in question?
No,
I mean, you could tell us all night long about what color of the paint of the walls are going to be. We can't consider that. We can't talk about,
Well, I can't consider something approved, and now it's on my end. So I can't consider.
It's not approved, ma'am.
No, it was approved.
No, I'm sorry. It's not approved. You're in front of this board tonight for a variance request. We have not approved it.
Correct, but we started building on something that was approved.
I can't consider that.
Okay.
Okay, enough. Well, with that being said, I think you guys understand where we stand.
Thank you. Why don't we just stop there? I'm going to open up to my colleagues. If they have any questions, we'll go with their questions, okay?
May I go back to see?
No, please stay right there. We may have a question. Okay. Mr. McCauley.
So, just for my clarity, you've already made the changes.
Yes.
These are the changes that you've already made.
Correct.
So if I look at those changes that you've made, you are in compliance that you're 5 feet or farther out on either side, but not matching the 15 feet, but still farther than the 5 foot on either side. And that you have 30 in the back, or almost 30 in the back, 29.5, and then the same in the front.
Correct.
And so you've already had the expense of making those changes, expense of changing your truss. What else, other expenses have you incurred making these changes?
Losing my carpenter. He walked away. I have to go find a new carpenter because he's been, same thing. The architect, another additional.
And you've had to refinance, go through refinancing again?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I want to get the full scope of what you've tried to do to rectify this, because I think you've gone to great length to do that, and that's appreciative. So I just want to just make sure it's on the record what you've actually done. So thank you.
And then if I may add one more thing is that to the east side of the property, we have a neighbor here that's concerned about the drainage, and I've also told him I would be willing to install a French drain along that property line to make sure that water stays on our side and it's being shot back to the connected right to the storm sewer in front of the lot on my expense. I said I'll put a French drain in, 6-inch pipe, 2 feet down, whatever it's required to do that. That's it.
Another member of the board. Mr. Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't know if your neighbors are here tonight or not, but other than that issue with the drainage, are the neighbors on both sides of you supportive of the changes you've made and they're willing to live with the fact that you need this variance?
The neighbor to the west, he could care less. If I was 5, 10, he could care less. The neighbor to the east, he was the one who raised the issue, which is understandable, and then we have corrected it. So over there, we have 5 feet. So I have immediately within 1 week, I fixed that. So you could sleep at ease and you could kind of see it. I don't want to just leave it, and for him, because unless you're in the building, some things you can't really picture. So I went back, paid the carpenter, said chop, and it's a lot of work, but I did it. So it's there for him to see, so he can kind of set his mind at ease.
Thanks.
Another member of the board. Okay, thank you. If you could have a seat.
Okay.
So we're going to open up the public hearing on this matter so the public can actually comment on what's going on. So if you'd like to speak to the board, please present yourself to the podium and I'll recognize you. So the public hearing is open. If you have something to say, please present yourself to the podium. And this is the final call. If you'd like to speak, please present yourself to the podium.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Denise Whitmer, and I'm and I live at 76 Vermont. My husband and I are the people to the east.
Okay.
And we're the ones that, came and said, we need 5 feet. And Sal took care of it. He did. And also, just like he was just telling you, in regards to the French drain, that we had discussed that just now because our backyard flooded horribly last year from the two houses that were built right behind us, and it flooded all the way up to the back of our house, and that's 35 feet. And it was because of the grading, and they pretty much had to do exactly the same thing, is put in the French drain, because the water just comes in like crazy every time it rains. So he's taking care of that. We've discussed that just tonight. Okay?
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Members of the board, my name is Paul Featherson. I'm Regional Operations Manager for Safe Built for Michigan. We run the building department. We've been here partners with the city for going on 9 years now, and out of over 20,000 building permits we've issued, this is the first time we're standing in front of you. A question was raised about an extra safeguard put in place or changes. They have been put in place. We had a very good system to go. I mean, the beginning is as we've issued over 20,000. We've never had to be standing in front of you today. But we did an extra checklist system. Now everything does get washed through the building official. The deputy director of building is also here, and so is the chief building official. Everything is checked by the deputy director, then the building official before it gets issued. We put a double safeguard in place so this doesn't happen again. That's what I'd like to say. If there's a question, if anybody has any questions of me. Thank you very much for your time.
Is there another member of the public who would like to address the board on this matter? Is there another member of the public who would like to address the board on this matter? Please present yourself to the podium. Seeing that there isn't anyone else, we're closing out the public hearing on that matter. And we're going to call on Vice Chairman Gauss to share with us any communications we may have on this matter. We have nothing in writing, electronically, or in printed form to share with the public. So I'm going to just bring it back to the board for consideration, possible action, or any further questions. Ms. Cruz.
I'm not familiar with what a French drain is.
Thank you. I'm not familiar with what that is either.
I don't know.
Good question.
I've seen that come across in a planning commission application, a French drain. Can someone tell me what that is?
I think it'd be best to defer to the applicant.
I'd like to defer to city staff first.
Well,
has this been in?
I'm not entirely sure. I can tell you how it's built. To some degree, it's a cistern that has rock in it. And what happens is it's got pipes in it, and the pipes drain into the cistern, and then there's holes in the cistern that allow the collected amount of water to drain slowly.
And when the pipes connect with the holes in it that allow the water to drain slow, is it just draining into the surrounding land, or is it going into some basin or some other city drainage situation where that water gets routed?
I'd refer that to the applicant, because how he's going to do that, because there's multiple ways of doing that. So
that's actually what I'm thinking of too. I think we should have the applicant. I'm not an expert in French drains. I can give you a general concept of what they are.
It's more than one way.
I'm not prepared to call you forward yet, so we'll do that in a second. Is this in the paperwork? Is this in the applicant's paperwork that this? So the lady who's the neighbor said that she has an agreement with the applicant. It doesn't matter what the applicant says before us today.
It's not in
regardless of what this gentleman is about to come and speak at the microphone. If it's not in the writing of the application, then how can it be insured to be done to her satisfaction or to our satisfaction? That's the question.
It is not in the application. but representations made by applicants at a meeting are binding.
Okay. And we could put that in a resolution?
You could also put it in a resolution.
As a requirement, sure.
I will say it doesn't have to be. If it's part of the record that they said they're going to do a French drain, then a French drain is going to be needed to be
Okay.
done. But you can put it in the resolution.
Sure, thank you.
If you want.
We'll recall the gentleman to the microphone, please. Do you want to address what you've been hearing?
Yes, yeah, Mr. Clark, to your point, yes, it's not one of the issues that's not what we're here tonight. It was more of a setback issue, but I just kind of wanted to address it because I knew that's where they were here. So I wanted to hit, kill two birds with one stone. And to the Mrs. Cruz's concern, if I may approach, I will show you a picture of what a French drain looks like so you can kind of more visualize it. I did pull it up for the lady.
Okay.
Just be aware you can't have any discourse unless you're at the microphone.
We got to get rid of Select a Wireless Network.
Sir, I'm sorry.
Okay, I see it. Yep, thank you.
What happens is that the water, you would put this right at the pretty much lot limit or property line, and then the water would drain into this pipe. Then it would be carried out to the front of the property, attached to the city storm sewer.
Okay, so
So
it is
yes,
attached.
water will be carried away,
Okay.
and it would be completely. I've done this many times. This is huge in Birmingham because, again, this is not normal to Troy because there's big lots, you know what I mean? It's, it's rare that you see a 40-foot lot, so, or 60-foot lot, I'm sorry. So we do this all the time in Birmingham, and it works, I can assure.
And how many inches is that pipe, did you say?
6 inch.
Pipe, okay.
6 inch pipe with at least 2 feet worth of pea gravel. And then you sat over it, so you don't, it's not an eyesore.
Right.
You don't see it, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's it.
Any other member of the board?
Oh, I have lots of questions.
Of the applicant?
No, not of the
Okay, thank you.
questions. Maybe of the app.
Ms. Cruz?
So I'm to understand then, he has corrected the 5-foot side setback problem. So the only issue that's remaining in front of us is the rear setback. And then he has taken it upon himself to proactively ensure that the neighbors aren't going to experience additional water retention or flooding on their properties because of the addition of a structure that wasn't there previously. Am I correct in my understanding? Does anyone have a different take on what I've heard?
I have a different take. They're required to go as low, you can go as low as 5 on one side, but when you add both sides up, it's 15. So there's no question he's 5 or more on both sides, but he only has 8.5 on the one side, so that's 13.5. He needs another 1.5
Okay.
on that side.
So he's 5 on one, but needed 10 on the other and still is deficient by 18 inches.
Right, and then the back, you've got the rear correct. Yep.
Okay.
Any other member of the board? Ms. Cruz?
Sorry. But there's no neighbor here complaining about the 18-inch deficiency?
We had a public hearing. Whoever chose to speak has spoken.
Okay.
So
And-
we don't call out any other neighbors who may have chosen to be here who haven't spoken.
And how are neighbors notified that there's a hearing tonight, that they could attend and voice their opinion?
Sure. The city sends a postcard out. Mr. Evans will
Yep,
address that.
every property owner / occupant within 300 feet of the subject property boundaries is sent written notice to their mailing address at least 15 days before the hearing. And we also have a web presence as well.
Okay.
So the neighbors were notified.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other member of the board? If there is not another member of the board who'd like to be identified or recognized, Mr. Lambert.
First, I'm happy the city and their vendor have resolved the issue and appreciate the information that was shared with us. I would like to move approval of the variance, looking at the exceptional characteristics of the property. This is a very narrow lot, very difficult to build on. The dimensional requirements are related to the premises for which the variance is sought. Characteristics make compliance, they're not of a personal nature. Item D, they must not be created by the current or a previous owner. And E, they will not be harmful or alter the essential character of the area that the property is located on. And I would add on to that the requirement that the owner of the property or the builder install a French drain system that would be both in accordance with the wishes of the neighbor on the east side and in compliance with all city ordinances.
Second.
It's moved and seconded by Lambert Desmond for approval of the request by the petitioner. Mr. Lambert, will you accept a friendly amendment to better identify where that French drain is going to be? Your resolution just says it has to be on the property. It doesn't say where. Clearly, we're referring to the east side of the property.
Correct, yes.
So is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Desmond?
Yes.
You accept that as well? Okay, so that's now part of the public record and part of the resolution. So as we proceed, after we have further discussion, that will be part of the vote that we'll be taking. Is there any discussion on the Lambert-Desmond resolution? Seeing none, Mr. Evans, we're prepared for a vote.
Mr. Desmond.
Yes.
Mr. Kaltsunas.
Yes.
Mr. McCauley.
Yes.
Mr. Lambert.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Agawas.
Yes.
Motion granted.
Congratulations, you have your variance. Have a very good night. Yes. You cannot speak from the gallery, I'm sorry. I hate to be the bad guy here, but it's in direct violation of the law. So it has to be on the public record, and otherwise it's in violation. We move right on to number 6, which is our communications. Mr. Evans, are there any communications before the board tonight?
None.
Very good. We have item number 7, miscellaneous business. Are there any other issues, Mr. Evans, that you have for us?
No.
Is there another issue that a board member has for us tonight? Very good. We're moving right on to our wonderful students. So if you are a student here visiting tonight and you choose to come up, we would love for you to come and identify yourself. Please tell us your name and what school you go to. Come on forward. Don't be shy. We're really friendly here. Come on. Hi.
Hi. So most of us here, my name is Lauren Ball, and most of us here attend Troy High School, and we are from a AP government class, and it is part of a requirement to come and come and see civic engagements. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Have a great night.
You too.
Who's next? Hello.
Hi, my name is Tejas Thoda, and Lauren said most of what I was going to say. I just like my name to be on the public record.
That's excellent. Very good. You did a great job. Good evening.
My name is Shrikar Kante, and I'm from Troy High.
Welcome.
My name is Akash Alapati, and they've said everything already.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Henning, and I also attend Troy High. And I didn't know anything about what the Zoning Board of Appeals was, and I was very informed, and this was interesting. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank
Are you Chelsea Henning's little sister?
Yes.
You're all grown up.
Thanks for coming. Hello.
Hello, my name is Maddie Holmes, and I also go to Troy High School. And like Caitlin, I did not know much about the zoning board, and I'm happy to come away from it knowing a lot more about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Adi Suresh Kumar. I'm a junior at Troy High, and I was excited to be here.
thanks. It's the first time I've ever heard someone say they were excited to be at the zoning board. So you get the award tonight, sir. Hello.
I'm Nathaniel Worrell, and it was very interesting to see how this operated and how our system for Troy operated compared to the federal level.
Wonderful. Thanks for coming.
Hello, I'm Anupam Gara, and I'm a junior at Troy High, and this was a great experience for me, just seeing how you guys dealt with here at the case in general. So.
Thank you. Boy, such high compliments. Exciting and great. All in one night. So, so thank you, students, for coming. We loved having you here. Are there any other members of the public who would like to address the board on public comment? So the public comment portion is now open.
We need your signatures.
Just mine.
Of course you do. Go Colts.
And yeah, you'll have to step back over there because we can't be dialoguing because of the public record. Is there any other member of the public who would like to be heard here tonight? Is there a member of the public who would like to be heard? Please present yourself to the podium. Final call, is there a member of the public who would like to be heard? Present yourself to the podium. I'll close out the public comment, and we are adjourned. Have a very good night, everyone.